Welcome to the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Subscribe, like, ride along, got you with the daily content. Today we're going to have Frank Ross, our guy, special teams coach, live on the show in the 11 o'clock hour. You don't want to miss that, and if you do miss it, fire up the Odyssey app. You can check it out. We always have fun with him, busting each other's balls with one of the best special teams coaches in the league. Now, Nick Caserio, speaking of coaches, the man who decided to bring back Frank Ross, Nick Caserio, I don't want to say he's on the hot seat, but it's time for Nick Caserio to produce here in Houston. But what is the biggest form of evaluation for Nick Caserio in 2023? What, as far as making progress, as far as, ramping up this rebuild, you got your coach, you hopefully got your quarterback, you've used draft equity on what you hope are cornerstone pieces. What is the biggest evaluation of Nick Caserio in 2023? I know what it is, but it's not what you think. It's not CJ Stroud. Rookie quarterbacks struggle. Even some of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game, they struggle as rookies. And quite frankly, with where CJ Stroud is, with what he needs to work on, and with the wide receivers that he currently has, it's not too far-fetched to think that there might be some struggles with CJ Stroud. Now, hopefully we see progress throughout the way, but if you don't, it's not the end-all, be-all, and it's not that unique for rookie quarterbacks to struggle. So CJ Stroud is not the thing that you'll be watching most when it comes to evaluating Nick Caserio. Now, some of you may be saying, well, you traded all that and you did it so you could get CJ and Will Anderson. So it's got to be Will Anderson, right? Wrong. Not Will Anderson either. Again, rookies are going to struggle. Will Anderson is going to have to figure some stuff out. There's a chance he produces at a high level early on, but there's a chance that he doesn't. Look at J.J. Watt's stats his first year before he became arguably the best player in franchise history and undoubtedly the best defensive player in franchise history. Sometimes rookies are going to struggle. So it's not Will Anderson either. If C.J. Stroud or Will Anderson have bad rookie years, it's going to obviously raise some eyebrows because of where they were selected and what you gave up to get them. But it's not going to be the end-all, be-all, and it's not going to be like a fireable offense for Nick Caserio. Now, many of you might be saying now, it's got to be the head coach, right? It's got to be DeMeco Ryans. Not even DeMeco Ryans. First-year head coaches have bad years all the time, especially in rebuilds. We've seen Hall of Fame coaches go 1-15. Jimmy Johnson went 1-15 his first season. It happens. Sometimes it's a process. Kyle Shanahan, the guy who everyone loves, the guy that everyone wants to pick from the Kyle Shanahan tree, he didn't start winning until year 3 in San Francisco. So it's not even DeMeco Ryans. The struggles with Stroud, the struggles with Anderson, the struggles with DeMeco Ryans, I'm not going to say they're expected, but if they do happen, then it's not the biggest indictment on Nick Caserio. It might just be part of the game. Hopefully you put him in position where that doesn't happen. But if it doesn't, not the end of the world. Journalism teacher once told me, shout out to Pete Bruton, one of the best investigative journalists of all time and a guy who taught me a lot during my time in journalism school, to follow the money and follow the assets. Follow the money. If you're trying to, more times than not, especially when it comes to investigative journalism, especially when it comes to expectations, et cetera, just follow the money, follow the assets. And if we do that and we're looking for a short-term evaluation, not a long-term evaluation, a short-term evaluation of Nick Caserio, then you got to go to the interior offensive line. The interior offensive line is where Nick Caserio will be judged this year. This is where we will know, okay, does this guy know what he's doing? Now, is it some sort of fireable offense? I don't know. But the interior offensive line has to be good this year based on what you've given up to make that happen. Because if we go into next offseason and we're saying interior offensive line is a need, then what the hell was this? What the hell was this organization doing when they invested all they did in the interior offensive line? Let's start with last year. Kenyon Green. You drafted Kenyon Green in the first round. You traded back. You avoided a hell of a lot of players. You ignored a lot of needs to draft Kenyon Brown. He had a disappointing season, very disappointing season, one of the most disappointing rookie seasons that we've seen. Now, there's a lot of factors that can come into that. He faced some very good defensive linemen. He faced a murderer's row of interior defensive linemen. He was playing by a center that wasn't playing very well, and Scott Quesenberry, who they tried to replace this year. He had some injuries, might not have been in shape. Those rookie struggles that we talked about. But this year, Kenyon Green, you used a first-round pick on a guard in an ideal world, and more times than not, you're hoping that's plug and play right away. He didn't look good last year. So Kenyon Green, you got to figure that out. Then you look at the center position. Center was one of the biggest needs in the offseason. It was something that you needed just not only for Kenyon Green, but for your offensive line as a whole. Some of the worst center play in football last year. What do? You made a trade. You traded the 65th overall pick, the 188th overall pick, and the 230th overall pick, and you traded up to 62 and drafted Juice Scruggs. There were some other really good centers on the board, according to the offensive line draft nerds, and you traded up for Juice Scruggs during a time in which the position was a significant need. You traded up for him. So you invested in the center position. You've invested in left guard, and then at right guard, you traded for and then you paid Shaq Mason. Shaq Mason, according to Texans Cap, I think his average per year salary, top 11 among right guards. He's never played in this system. He's a very, very good player, but some people say, I just saw Bill Barnwell's article, he was going to get cut, and then all of a sudden you give him this contract in a new system. Some people say he might be a system fit. He sure as hell better be, because if this interior offensive line from Kenyon Green to Juice Scruggs to Shaq Mason or whoever the hell else you use, this interior offensive line is an issue, then you're going to have to question the scouting staff, and you're going to have to question Nick Caserio, and it's going to be not unforgivable, but it's going to be something that really going to make you raise the eyebrows about Nick Caserio. Interior offensive line cannot be a major problem this season, and next season, when it's the offseason, it should be chalked off the list. Should not, when we're listing needs, interior offensive line, you got to feel good about it. You got the most money in the NFL invested in the offensive line. We already feel okay about the tackles. You got to make that interior better. It benefits your quarterback. It benefits the scouting department. And with all that you've invested, you've got to have something to show for it. We've already been through a situation where a lot's invested in the offensive line and it doesn't perform. Nick Caserio cannot do that. So it's not Stroud, it's not Anderson, it's not DeMeco. It's that interior offensive line. Hopefully not too much to expect. You feel good about this offensive line. There are question marks about some things more than others. We got to see Kenyon Green get on the field and do his thing, but it needs to happen for Nick Caserio. What if it's not? Is it some sort of fireable offense? Probably not, but it is something where they're going to have to take a step back between bringing back Justin Britt for consecutive years and putting yourself in a position where you had to start Quesenberry to the AJ Cann thing, et cetera. You got to get this interior offensive line fixed. Not saying it should be an easy fix, but it should be a fix. It's understandable. You couldn't dedicate prime assets to bringing in a wide receiver. That's going to be a need next year, probably finding a young number one receiver. But you did have the appropriate assets to improve that interior offensive line. It's got to happen. It has to happen. That is the most important evaluation of Nick Caserio this year. Rookie's going to go through growing pains. DeMeco Ryans going to go through growing pains. Cannot have the interior offensive line with all you've invested. Cannot have that look bad. I'm rooting for you, Nick Caserio. Going to hear from the assistant coaches today. You'll hear them on In the Loop, Sports Radio 610. Download that Odyssey app. Please appreciate everyone for coming through the live chats that we've been doing daily on top of the videos. Subscribe, like, right along, no matter what happens. Hell, even if the interior offensive line sucks, which I can't even make myself say, if it's good, if it's bad, it doesn't matter, because when it comes to this Texans game, we're all in this together. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Have a good day.
Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube.